Several months back, I had shared with you guys my fluffy white sandwich bread that was well received. You guys really seem to love that recipe. So today I am sharing with you my tried and true whole wheat soft bread recipe. This bread is amazing. It is not like eating cardboard. It's not dense. It comes out fluffy every time. Very easy to make and oh so delicious. I can't wait to share this recipe with you, so let's just get out in the kitchen and make this. To get started on this recipe, I am going to be utilizing my KitchenAid stand mixer. Any type of mixer will work for this recipe. You just want to make sure that it has a dough hook and is powerful enough to handle making the dough. Most mixers will do that just fine. You can make this dough and bread by hand. Just know that your kneading time is going to take you about 15-20 minutes, and you're just going to have to make sure everything is nice and incorporated when you mix your dough together. To get started, I'm just going to attach the dough hook to my KitchenAid mixer, get that locked into place, and now it's time to add the ingredients to the mixing bowl. Into a mixing bowl, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of whole milk. I'm going to heat this up to about 80 to 90 degrees, so I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute and just check it. Here I am just temping it out to make sure that it is where I want it to be, and it is. So into a mixing bowl it goes, along with 4 tablespoons of butter. You can either use salted or unsalted, it really doesn't matter. Now we're going to add 1 3/4 cup whole wheat flour and 1 3/4 cup white bread flour. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, and it gives us a nice soft bread that's easy to work with and comes out soft every time. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of vital wheat gluten. This helps soften the bread. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of salt, 4 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, 1 packet of instant rapid yeast. You do not want the active dry yeast, you want the instant yeast in this recipe. 2 tablespoons of warm water. And now I'm going to turn on the mixer on setting of 2 and just let that go for about 10 minutes or so. It's going to pull all that dough off the sides of the mixer, and it's going to knead that dough into a wonderfully soft dough for us to work with. After about 5 minutes, you just want to check and make sure you don't need to add any flour. This dough is not sticky and it's just perfect the way that it is, so no extra flour is needed. This is what you want your dough to look like. It's pulling nicely off the sides of the bowl and isn't sticking and is coming together beautifully. After the 10 minutes is up, I'm going to turn off the stand mixer. The dough should just slide right off the dough hook. Nothing should be sticking. And just remove the dough hook. During the winter months when I'm making bread, one thing that I like to do to get a good proof on my dough is to preheat my oven to 350 degrees for about 15 minutes and then turn it off and let my dough sit on top of the stove and proof on the stove. It gives it a beautiful rise, and it makes it come out really good, especially in the cold months, because sometimes when it's cold like it is, your temperature in your kitchen and your house is going to fluctuate. It might not be warm enough for the dough to rise as much as it needs to. Doing this helps aid in that process. So give it a try. And now I'm just going to spray a bowl with some cooking spray oil just to make sure that our dough, it does not stick to the sides of the bowl as it's proofing. I'm just going to form it into a nice tight ball. This dough is very easy to work with, does not stick. I'm going to spray the top of that. And then I'm just going to cover it with some saran wrap. And then I'm just going to let that sit on top of that warm stove. To proof this bread properly, you're going to want to let it sit out and let it rise for about an hour, hour and a half. I know it's a long time. Set a timer, just forget about it. You do not want to rush this process. If you do it too early, your bread's going to fall flat and get real dense. If you let it go too long, it's going to get too many air bubbles in there and not be very good. So set your timer for about an hour, check it. If it needs a little bit longer, check it every 15 minutes after that. I find that about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes is exactly where I want it to be. After about an hour and 20 minutes here, I'm peeling back the plastic wrap and our dough is all set. It's perfect. It is doubled in size and is looking very good. Now I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that bread flour out onto the counter and just let the dough fall onto the counter and start working with it. I'm going to press it down into start to form a rectangle. This dough is very easy to work with and is not sticking at all. Now I'm going to take a rolling pin and just roll this out into a rectangle. I want the rectangle width to be about the size of the bread pan, or the length of the bread pan, I'm sorry. I'm rolling with the rolling pin just to get out any huge air bubbles. You really do not want any big air bubbles in your bread. And then I'm just going to roll this up nice and tight. Going to tuck in the ends of the bread. And then I'm going to spray the inside of the bread pan with a little bit of that cooking oil spray. And just put the bread in there. I'm going to take a sheet of plastic wrap and just spray that a little bit with the cooking spray. And then just set that over the top of the bread and then let this proof for about another hour or so. At the 30-minute mark of the second proof, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Once the final rise has been complete, this is what your bread should look like before it goes into the oven. About 1/2 inch to 1 inch above the rim of the bread pan. Into the oven it's going to go for about 30 to 35 minutes. And after 32 minutes this time, this is what I had. Came out perfect. And look at that, you guys. Doesn't that look so good? Now I'm just going to take that out after it's been out of the oven for a couple minutes. Take it and just put it on a cooling rack. And I'm going to take a pat of butter and just coat the outside of the crust with the butter. You can do this with a pastry brush, but I lost mine. So I'm just using a little pat of butter. And I just want to get all over the top and all over the sides. The house smells so good. Can't wait. And in my house, I can never wait long enough for this to completely cool. I know you're supposed to let it just completely cool so it doesn't dry out, but my bread never lasts that long, and there's nothing better than a warm piece of bread straight out of the oven. And see how wonderfully soft and great texture this bread has. Flavor is amazing. Okay, now it's the moment I have been waiting for all day. My house smells amazing. I just love the smell of fresh baked bread. There's nothing quite like it. As you can see, this is nice, light, fluffy sandwich bread. And it's time for the taste test. Take a little bit of butter, smear that on there. Let's give this a try. Nothing like warm, fresh baked bread. Oh my gosh, this is so good. It's nice and soft and fluffy, full of flavor. It's not too sweet. It is so good. You're never going to want to buy store-bought wheat bread again. Give this recipe a try. Check out my bread recipes listed over here. I definitely have more great bread recipes for you to try out. They are absolutely amazing and will not disappoint. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. That would be amazing. And as always, I hope you all have a fabulous week, and I will see you in the next video. Happy baking!